Hi guys, so welcome back to Pick a Card. I know it has been absolutely ages since I've done a reading. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, so I'm not even going to bother. But basically, I'm back doing some pick a cards now. The setup's a bit different because I'm sort of moving around at the moment, so I'm just going to kind of make it up as I go along. But hopefully soon I'll have my own place again. Anyway, so in this first pick a card in ages, I really didn't know what to do until I walked into Tesco's and then I saw this. And I absolutely love this guy, Del Boy. And so basically what I thought we'd do is, I know some people have funny things about money and how it works with, I don't know, spirituality or whatever. And to be honest, I just think money is amazing. I think it's super creative. I think it's fun to create. I think it's fun to spend. I think it's fun to share. I think all of these things about money can be awesome. And particularly in the way our current reality is set up, without money, on some level, in some way, it will ultimately give a limitation. Now, not that that's a good or a bad thing, it's just a fact as the way things are at the moment. So what I thought we'd do on this pick a card is what you need to know right now for you to be able to make the most money ever in 12 months. So I don't even want to limit it and say be a millionaire, because you know what, some of you might already be millionaires, some of you might be already billionaires, some of you might, I don't know, you know, really want a totally different amount of money. And actually the number, the amount doesn't matter. It's about the intentionality behind that. And basically I would say don't limit yourself. So this pick a card is all about what you need to know right now to make the most amount of money ever in 12 months. So cool, let's see what's gonna go down. So I'm gonna do 4 piles. So these are the 4 crystals. We're gonna start this one. So this is pile number 1. If you feel drawn to this one, this is pile number 2. If you feel drawn to this crystal, this is pile number 3. If you feel drawn to this crystal, and this is pile number 4, if you feel drawn to this crystal. Cool, so basically let's go straight into it and go straight into message number 1. So hi guys, this is for, so I'm just going to move my stuff around just a little bit. Okay, so this is for everybody that chose pile number 1 with their message. So I'm just going to put that crystal there. Cool, now let's go straight in. I'm gonna I'm trying to think what I'm gonna do. No, I'm not gonna channel. Let's just gonna go straight in and see what we get. So what does pile number 1 need to know so that they can make their most amount of money ever in 12 months? Let's see. Okay, so I'll just say little bits as they're coming out anyway. So definitely you guys just need to, this is gonna, I know this will sound really annoying. First of all, when I say these words, think about the first thing that pops into your head. You need to release a little bit of resistance to do with, it's not so much earning it, but it's how you receive money. It feels like you're good at earning it, you're good at spending it, saving it, giving it, but there's just something about receiving. It's almost like I just feel like you work way too hard for it, basically. And there's something that you can be doing where it's not like you're gonna work any less, but it's like the amount of energy that it takes from you can be way less. So essentially you can get more for less but you'll still work the same amount, but the amount of energy that you have left after you've worked for other things in your life will expand dramatically. And that's all something about how you'll earn a lot more money than where you're currently at, because it kind of feels like I'm seeing a vision of like rope. And it's interesting, it's been shown as like rope being wrapped around you, and it's like paradoxically two things. On one way, the rope's amazing because it's kind of like, it's almost like oh, you've almost got like a real snake-like quality to do with earning money. And what I'm being shown by the snake is you have like a very primal instinctive way to make money, and I kind of feel like you're the sort of people that you'll never be dire straight for money, ever. You will always have enough, but it's something about having enough that's also keeping you sort of, that's where your glass jar is at currently, and you can't kind of get over it because you have enough, but it's kind of like, it's about, I don't know, loosening your grip on recognizing what is enough, if this kind of makes any sense. Wait a second, let me just pull a couple more cards. And also the reason why I saw this snake is kind of a little bit paradoxical is because it's like, oh, how would I say, like, on one way the rope, the snake, the coil is helping because it's like very, very concentrated effort, but at the same time it's also a bit strangulating, and that's kind of what I'm getting about what's happening. It's either like you're working so hard, or you're putting so much intention into earning more money, or you've got such a very specific dominant belief about money, and whatever that dominant belief about money is, even if it's a good dominant belief, it's come to the point where it's actually strangling your money reservoir. And the only way to actually start earning significantly more than where you currently are at is you've got to loosen that grip of this belief that you have to do with money. And it's definitely to do with effort and working really, really hard. And not that that's not important, because I'm sure for another pile that'll be highly significant, but it's just for you guys, like, I feel like you've almost exhausted that potential resource of money through coming through kind of like blood, sweat and tears type of thing. And now actually for you to accelerate beyond where you're at, it's about bringing in another belief, because it's also about fluidity. I'm hearing like money is I'm being shown as like, to do with you guys, is for you to get more, it needs to flow more, there's got to be more fluidity. So it kind of means like being like a bit more flexible in your approach to how you are creating money. And it does really feel like it's around some kind of dominant beliefs of something. Let me just see what other card I want. So let's see. Oh, that one's already turned the right way up. Cool, fair enough. We'll go with that one first then. And then very last one. Right, okay, let's see what we have. Okay, so we have refining galactic lineage. Okay, so definitely something around connection. It's using resources and connections around you. There must be more people. Death. So this is also what I'm feeling about this, like you've got a belief about how you go about creating money, and although it may have served you well in the past, it's now strangulating how much you can make, and it's about refining whatever that is and transforming it. Then we have the King of Swords. You see, this is how I can tell like you've got a really strong belief, and I feel like you're very good manifestors as well, to be fair. Ultimate evolution. Yeah, you see, again, I do just feel like you've gone as far as you can go with whatever belief that you are using, and something about it just feel very masculine energy, so very kind of like do orientated, when actually what you kind of need to do now is almost bring in a softer approach, I feel. And then we've got here stars in the sky, limitless potential. Yeah, this is it. I do feel like there's a lot more potential for you guys, but it's definitely about some kind of like softer approach. And I kind of do really feel like with this pile, you've got something really strongly wrapped up with your self-worth and money. So I feel like it also comes into status as well, and very much like a validation type of thing as well. So like money is a way that has kind of given you, it's given you awesome stuff, right? It's given you purpose, it's given you focus, it's given you direction, it has given you pleasure. But I kind of feel like potentially because you've been going down that kind of like train track for so long, it's like even if you achieved the destination you wanted to do with money, you didn't even recognize it because you kind of bulldozed past it. And now there's something about that, because you've kept going in that direction for so long, it's actually got a bit exhausted in your current reality as it currently is right now. And that's why in order for you to kind of like gain something more, whether it is more money through what you're doing or more money through a different avenue or a different way of doing something, like it's definitely about using a different approach. And I feel like it needs to be also more creative, more flowing. But the cool thing is, I feel like whatever, like with this Knight of Swords here, with whatever you have used to create what you have so far with money, wealth, etc., still use that, but you've got to bring it together with a more kind of creative, adaptive approach, I'm hearing. It's almost like chameleon. It's almost like there's many different parts of your personality, and actually it's about using some other parts of your personality and bringing them into how you generate money. So just as a weird example, let's just say you're an amazing communicator, like you're really great at telling stories with your mates, you make everybody laugh, all of that kind of thing. And it's not, let's say at work you're very kind of focused and disciplined and you just work hard and get the job done. It's kind of like for you to move forward, you've now got to bring more of all of your energy, all of who you are, all your different personalities, and that will give you a leverage point with earning more money. So in this case, it would be like you would bring in that more playful communication, creative communication that you have with your friends in like a relaxed environment, and you would somehow bring that into how you generate money. It's kind of that kind of thing, because again, it kind of feels like you've come really far already with this ultimate evolution, but that's why now it's almost like the rules of life have changed for you, and for you to now earn more and be more successful, you've got to bring some more added dimensions to your reality of who you really are. So it's almost like you've got to bring more of your own inner resources, like I say, all of the different personalities and traits that you have within you, and you need to bring them out of you and collaborate with all of those parts to do with money, and that will significantly, epically increase how much money you are earning in 12 months. Again, it's like you've gone as far as you can possibly go with kind of like this kind of bulldozing approach, this kind of very single-minded, single-focused kind of approach, and now it's like you've like you've like almost drained that resource because you've used it so hard, so strong, and it has been so effective for you, that now naturally that resource is going dry, and so you naturally have to start to adapt and bring another part of yourself into creating money, into your working environment, wherever that might be. Anyway, so we've not even gone to these. Let's have a look. Okay, so then we have New Moon in Virgo, trust all will be well. So this is a thing. I reckon trust is coming up in multiple areas of your life, to be honest. I reckon it's also coming up in your relationship context as well, and it wouldn't surprise me actually within this pile if there's something about your relationships, and I'm not going to be specific here because it could be multiple things. It could be your relationship. Obviously we always go primary caregivers because they're so frigging significant to the foundations of your psychology, particularly before you maybe have refined all of that psychology. So you know, with the Virgo, this is very much like a more of a nurturing energy, you know, so it might be something as well about trusting almost feminine energy in your life. How much did you trust, or do you trust your mom? How much do you trust other females, whether you're female or male? How much do you trust your own creativity? And how much do you trust in the flow of life? Because there's something about all of that, which again is something that you need to tap into. Because as we talked a lot about this masculine energy here, in the King of Swords, you know, this is a very, very masculine energy. This is a way more, Virgo is a way more feminine energy. And trust all will be well is very much like having to surrender to something bigger than you and not having to control everything. This is way more an energy of having to control everything. So again, I think that's something that you need to consider. How much are you controlling how money comes to you, how you earn money, or how much are you controlling in your working environment, or how much do you just generally control your money in whatever way it might be? Again, for another pile, I'm sure it's highly significant that they really pay attention to how they're controlling money. Like, it might be the complete opposite to you, like very lax, very like I don't know, non-respectful of money. Now, I do feel like you are very respectful of money, but at the same point, I feel like for you to go further, you've got to bring in this softer, more feminine approach, this kind of creative, flowing approach. And I do feel like for some of you to do that, it also involves you having, maybe a more trusting connection with how you... The more trusting connection with your primary caregiver that had the most feminine energy. So for example, that could be your mother, but it could be your dad. It depends who has the most feminine energy, and that'll be up to you to know that one. But let me just go stereotypical because it's easier. Let's just say it's your mom had the most feminine energy. Like, how much did you honestly trust that she could provide for you, that she would keep you safe, that she could give you an abundance of what you needed? Now, if you find in any of those, when you feel into it, like you hesitate on some of those that I've said, that might just mean that you just need to have a little look at reprogramming how you have perceived how your mother nurtured you when you were growing up. Now, also, let's just say not everybody has the opportunity to have a mother who's super nurturing, no problem. Because then the next thing you can do is just go back and with compassionate eyes and with wisdom, because you're now so much older, look at what happened to you in your past with your mom, your primary, or whoever is your female primary caregiver, and understand why maybe she couldn't give you what you needed back then. And it would never have been because she didn't love or care for you. It would have been because there were some other type of restrictions on her, whether they were self-restrictions or whether they were restrictions that were put onto her. And sometimes just by seeing it from this other person's perspective in a softening way can be all that's needed to kind of like break the chains of kind of past patterns being inherited, and what would I say, and basically limiting the opposite of this, limiting how much you can grow. And actually with the refining galactic energy, it does really make me think that there is a little bit of something in your family history, and I do really feel like it's going to be this primary female energy, about, you know, maybe the females in your family found it very, very difficult to be independent in some way. And maybe you did see them suffer in some kind of way, which maybe also brought some suffering onto you in some type of way, or your siblings or whatever. And so for that reason, you've always been a bit more wary of accessing your own internal feminine energy, because obviously we all have feminine energy, but it's just so important now for you to get to this next stage of evolution. But at the same time, you don't want to suddenly become completely all like flowy and creative. Like I say from the beginning, you still want to use this resource that has created you so much already, this logical thinking, this practical approach, this due diligence, this responsibility, that type of thing. It's just, you just need to bring in a bit more of a softness. Because what I'm also hearing is when you can bring in a bit more of a softness, some opportunities are going to be popping up that if you're not in a more receptive state, you won't recognize them as opportunities. Because at first, they won't be like, here is a huge check, or here is an amazing job, or here is an amazing opportunity. It's going to almost be like, it's going to come through the side door. So it's only as you explore that option further that you recognize the opportunity within it, and then you leverage the circumstances to create the opportunity as a result of this side door. And that's why you have to be more open and more receptive and more creative with what's currently going on, so you don't miss it. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Oh, nice koi fish. I love this deck. It's so cute. I don't know if I can get it to shine. Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. Again, this is highly, I always think this is super, what do I say, auspicious sign, this one, and definitely about money. And again, this is why I do feel like lots of you that pick up this pile already have a great way of generating money. It's just that for you to generate more money, again, like I say, this is this flowing approach again, this fluidity, this kind of more, you need to have an idea, have a direction, which I've got no doubt you will already have. But then you've got to be way, 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 way softer about how you actually achieve that destination. And I do feel like for you guys, like I say, this involves tapping into your feminine energy more, trusting life more, trusting this other part of manifesting. So instead of just this real like hard work, due diligence type of way, linear pathway type of way, you've got to bring in a more, what do I say, like more, I don't know, more expansive way of working with all of these different personalities that you have. And then this is number 11. Oh, it's Pluto, black tourmaline, and it's regeneration. So regeneration and, well, Pluto, this is very much like the death card again. So it does tell me that I don't think it's necessarily going to be straightforward for some of you guys to really be able to step into this more receptive state. However, I do really feel like, okay, if I'm really honest with you, and just feel into this because it won't be for all of you, but it's for a significant portion of you. This belief that I've said from the very beginning, you've got a really, really stubborn belief about something. You've got a really, really stubborn belief about something. And that stubborn belief, it really, really, it does have to be transformed. It's super, super important. So actually what I'm going to do is, because everybody's going to be different and it's impossible, just right now, think, just ask your, I don't know, your intuition, your soul, whatever, your guides, to tell you, where is it you're being super stubborn? Where is it? And also trust. They might tell you something that's very different to even, let's say, life, an area of life. It might not be a specific area of life or anything like that, but it's like, in terms of money, it can be anywhere, but for whatever reason, that stubborn belief is blocking you to do with receiving. And the receiving is the massive, massive, massive part here. Now, also just know, although this video is timeless, basically as of, I think, about 2022, for about 18 months, well, the nodes of the moon will be changing into Taurus and Scorpio. So there's going to be lots of stuff coming up about receiving. And actually, to be honest, a lot of this reading reminds me very much of the energy of Scorpio, Taurus. So it wouldn't surprise me if you guys either have quite a lot of significant planets or points in your birth chart to do with Taurus and Scorpio, or if you don't have significant ones of this in your actual natal chart, I bet you do in your progress chart, because it's got this real kind of feel that's coming up to do with all of this type of thing. Now let's just see, what's your last card here? Gemini, cross-pollinate. I love this. I think this is such a nice card. So again, this makes me think about communication, and I did randomly mention communication. I don't know exactly, because this will work different for all of you, but there's something about, let's just say, whatever way you earn money, definitely look at your styles of communication. Totally look at how you communicate. And also, I feel like as well, there's something really, really important. Let's say generally whatever somebody's doing to make money, they are going to be selling something to someone. Doesn't matter who it is, and doesn't matter where they are or how abstract it might be, because ideally somebody is going to buy what you have and then you make money, whether that is information, whether it's a product, whether it's an idea, whether it's a philosophy, whether it's a skill, whether it's a trade, whether it's people that work for you, doesn't matter, whatever it is, it's usually that kind of thing. I think it's really important. There's another way for you to meet the needs of your customers, clients, patients, whatever. There's another way for you to do that, which is almost more, it's way more creative than what you're already doing. It's not exactly outside of the box, it's not that abstract, but it's definitely, I don't know, but it's something that comes out of you. How would I say? It's something that comes out of you. I don't know. Wait, just give me 1 second. It's something about you having a way more playful approach. That's the other energy that's definitely coming across with this in the Gemini. And again, like this playful approach, like Virgo, usually if you ever have Virgo rising, you're going to have a very youthful appearance for a long period of time. And you also have that if you've got a Gemini rising as well, both of these two cards. There's something about bringing much more youthful energy into whatever you are doing. And I do feel as well, like if you're a leader, because I do feel like quite a few of you could in some way be leaders of a group, or you're in charge of a business or whatever it might be, it feels like you really need to make sure that all of the people that are working for you in whatever way, their individual needs are being met. Make sure that you're recognizing the unique features that the different people that you have work for you, and make sure that you can bring those into whatever it is that you're working collectively to do. There's something about that, because as well with these bees work so much together. You know what I mean? They really kind of like, they have one goal and they all work towards it. And I do feel like there's something really important about, for you to get more out of whatever you're doing, which will ultimately generate loads more money for you as well. It's making sure the needs of not only your customers and clients and patients or whatever are met, but it's also making sure that the needs are met of the people that are within your business or your team or whatever it might be. And I do feel a lot of this it's understanding the unsaid communication as well. So it's not just about how you communicate to your clients and to, like, yes, say your staff members or whatever it is, or your work colleagues, but it's also about recognizing all of the things that are not said that are just as powerful as the things that are said. And I do feel like as well, that's where, you know, there's going to be some really powerful shifts for you, and you'll be able to, in the next 12 months, make considerably more money. Like considerably more money. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling very much for this group. Now let me just feel if there's anything else. Just have a little think. Is there anything else that this group needs to know? I'm also just getting with this group as well, actually, for you to make more money, it is about bringing in a bit more playtime in your own life as well. So I don't know if you spend a lot of time working, and even if you like work hard, play hard, it's kind of like, what I'm hearing is it's not about you either working hard or playing hard, like forget hard, you've done enough hard. Now it's like way more flowy. It's way more flowing, and just again those ropes that we saw in the beginning, like the snake wrapping around whatever is what it is you want to create. Like, this is great, but now you just got to loosen off the ropes a little bit, let stuff breathe a little bit. If you let stuff breathe, you're going to notice these side door opportunities, because I am hearing that this is one of the most important things for you guys to do, if you soften, you will receive these cues, these more abstract opportunities that are popping up for you to earn a lot more money in some abstract way, but you've got to be soft enough to even recognize them as an opportunity, and therefore, and also vulnerable and trusting enough to follow up on those opportunities, because it's not going to be straightforward. It's not going to be black and white. And I do feel like for some of you, there might be a little bit of a fear in whatever is this potential opportunity coming up. It might be something that you really, really want, but you might not have got it because actually you're not totally open to it, because you do have some fear of basically receiving it for whatever reason. And that's different for all of you. But yeah, and also just definitely look into things to do with how much you felt like your primary caregiver that was female did nurture and support you and made sure all your needs were met, because there's a little something there for you to just kind of like become a bit more consciously aware of, and therefore you won't have unconscious tapes running which stop you receiving as well, is what I'm hearing for all of this. And just let me just quickly get what's a past life to do with this, because you know obviously you've got 1,001 different past lives. So let me just see, is the one relevant to this? Okay, yes, so let's just see, what is it? Give me one sec. Okay, so let me just give you the overall theme, because it will play out in a slightly different way for all of you, but this is just the general theme of the story. And then obviously the context, some of you will be in different countries, some of you will be doing different jobs, some of you will be different ages, some of you will be different like genders. So forget so much that, it's just the overall story that I'm going to give you is the storyline. So basically the storyline that you basically have, and I'm just going to give it in one format, but then obviously feel into the unique specific things for you, is it's a case of you're like working on a farm, or you're working really, really hard, and you're working so hard that basically you miss an opportunity. And so what I'm kind of then seeing is, because it's flicking through a range so you can see, it's kind of like you were like, what do you call it, digging for gold or whatever, but you're working so hard that you kind of like went off track, and then you basically slightly didn't have the right plan and strategy of how to understand where you were digging and what you were doing, that you just basically kept like going back on yourself in some kind of way. So you never really reached where was the potential goal, because you didn't have the right strategy. You'd worked too hard and you were knackered. And then you got frustrated, and then once you got frustrated, it just became a downward spiral. And then you got into some belief that, you know, life never supports you, life's never good to you, and it became some really, really heavy burden. And then this ultimately made you age a lot quicker, then you got sick a lot quicker, and basically it was quite heavy from that perspective. But the things from that lifetime to remember was that you needed a strategy, and you needed a strategy that was adapting, because I'm hearing that different weather and things like that made a difference to either how you farmed to create more, I don't know, food resources that you could sell, or basically how you mined so that you could find things mining, like if it was coal, if it was diamonds, if it was gold, whatever it was. You needed to have a strategy that did change with changing weather. And I'm seeing that as you need to have a different strategy for changing circumstances, rather than just keep bulldozing in one direction, because it just means that you're missing these side doors, and the side doors are where the opportunities are. And so I think the moral of like this past life type thing to remember, whether you were the farmer, the miner, the going for gold, whatever you were doing, because it's different for all of you. And the big thing is just to make sure that you are flexible with your strategy, that you change your strategy when it is required, and so you're constantly reassessing how you're going after something, and if it's not working, that you're slightly adapting it, and that you're monitoring it, and that you are collecting the data so that you've got a big pool of resources, so that you understand how you've got where you're going, and you understand how to get somewhere different. And the other thing is to make sure that you don't get overexhausted, either by working too hard, then playing too hard, or just working too hard, or whatever it might be. Because when you get too exhausted, I'm seeing that this is when you guys can get a bit more of a heavy kind of like not depressive energy, but for some of you it'll feel a bit like a depressive energy, or for some of you it'll feel like an anxiety, or for some of you it'll just feel just a pissed off energy. And once that energy comes in, it actually can take quite a while to lift out of your guys' energy field. And again, this is all time, which is then draining your resources. So that's just something to be mindful to do with that past life that's linking into this. Anyway, cool. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was useful in some way, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye. Hi, pile 2. So this is for everybody that chose message number 2 for what you need to know right now so that you can make the most amount of money ever in 12 months. Obviously, so that you can have more fun and enjoyment or whatever it is you want to do with money. Right, so I'm just going to do what I did with the first pile. So I'll shuffle, I'll chat as I'm shuffling, and we'll go from there, and then we'll turn them all over. So let's see. Okay, so the first thing that I'm hearing for you guys is you just need, first of all, breathe. Definitely, first of all, breathe. It's not a big deal. Like, money is not a big deal. It shouldn't ever feel like it's either a struggle, or it shouldn't ever feel like it's a struggle, or it's just important that you don't make earning money feel like it's impossible, or that it kind of like, you know, don't think that money doesn't come easily to you, because money totally can come easily to you. Absolutely it can. And you know, now this won't be for all of you, but this is the sort of vibe that I'm instantly getting. Let's say if you were brought up in an environment where either it was, money was talked about in a negative way is what I'm getting. I'm getting that money was talked about in a negative way, and I don't know, it was talked about in a negative way, or it had like, there was lots of heavy consequences to do with money when you were growing up. I feel like for some of you, your primary caregivers argued a lot about money. I feel like for some of you, your parents made you feel guilty to do with needing things or wanting things that were related to do with money. I feel like for some of you, there might have been some kind of like religious connotations to money, like money being bad in some way, or that people that have money are not good in some way, or I don't know, there's just something a little bit oppressive about your upbringing to do with money. And I do feel like, you know, that sort of energy is even if you're earning a lot of money now, or you're not earning a lot of money now, because there'll be a big spectrum of you on either side of this kind of like energy kind of frequency, for you to earn significantly more, it's definitely about letting go of some of those stories that you were told growing up to do with money. Because I'm also even hearing, say for some of you that are successful, that have chosen this path, and I mean successful to do with money, you're earning a decent amount of money, you know, for you to earn more, you still have to like slightly redo those storylines, because it feels like if you've earned a lot of money up to this point, or however much money you've earned up to this point, you've almost done it through like, what would I say? I don't know, like in a very kind of hardcore way, which full respect to you, because that's not easy to do. Like, I really feel like you've pushed through a lot, but in order for you to now earn significantly more, you can't do it with this storyline going on in the back of your unconscious mind. Like, you just can't. So it won't be a big deal for you to update it. You can do it in different ways. You can either do it yourself in meditation, you can do it through journaling, you can do it through some form of therapy, you could have hypnotherapy, you could maybe read a few books on it. I think you're all in different levels as to where you're at to do with it, but it's definitely about seeing money as way more joyful, way more joyful. And almost like seeing money, for some of you, well, that have negative religious kind of like connotations to it, like seeing money almost is incredibly like spiritual or energizing, or, you know, something like that. It's that's what I'm really getting instantly. But anyway, before I say any more, let me just get us some more cards, otherwise I'll never get these cards turned over. Because I'm also going to do at the end, like I just did for pile number 1, is I'll tell you the past life that's most relevant to what's going on to do with this as well. Right. But I'll tell you what I feel for this pile massively, is that just with a little bit of a tweak, you really could earn significantly more and a lot quicker. Really quick. Because pile 1 needed to go through some transformation, but I did feel like, and I did say it to them, this might not be the easiest thing to do. I feel like for this pile, although it might seem a bit heavier, it's going to be a lot easier for you to do a transformation. Oh, and as I say that, look at the card we get. We get Death card, which is the transformation card. This actually came out in pile number 1 as well. Then we have, nice, Knight of Cups. I love this Knight of Cups. It's a bit playful, he's a bit of a chancer, he's a bit of a charmer. And I do feel like that's the sort of playful, charming, see money as charming, be charming with money. You know, it's like, it's that kind of, enjoy it a bit more. And then we have 2 of Swords. Okay. Then we have calling all our parts home. Yeah, you see, this is it. I do feel you've got something stuck in the childhood upbringing, and it's about integrating that into you in a way so that it's now in alignment with who you are, and what you do believe. Because I do feel like you do have, there's something running which is an unconscious tape, which isn't relevant to you now, but that unconscious tape is stopping you earning significantly more. We have another type of Death card. This is Death Mother. So again, it's like a card of transformation. So again, you've got that two lots of transformation going on here, which is actually probably why I think it's going to be fast. For some reason I see again that as speed. It can be a really speedy transformation. Single-minded focus. You see, I do feel like for a lot of you, this is how you've earned a lot of money so far, or however you do. You have to put, that's it, that was probably what I was trying to describe earlier. It's like you have to put so much energy into staying focused to earn this money, because it's almost like you're having to like work against the huge other unconscious resistance that's going off in your subconscious mind that's come from these unhealthy stories that you've picked up when you were growing up. Then we have Tiger, again, like a very powerful energy. This is the thing, I do feel like you guys have so much strong energy, and I do think it's why things can change very quickly for you. And I do feel like you've done amazing so far, wherever you're at to do with earning money or receiving money or whatever. I think you've done amazing to get where you've got, but I think as well, it's just for you to earn significantly more. It's not actually about you doing it particularly anything different physically. It's more about you just updating. It's like you've got your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind, and then let's say cosmic consciousness mind. So it's kind of like you've just got to update your unconscious mind. I feel like that's the main bit. Your unconscious mind and your subconscious mind. Because I feel like your super consciousness mind totally understands that money is free, money is easy, it's all of these things. I actually do feel like consciously you do get that as well. But where I see the block is in your subconscious and unconscious mind. And the tricky bit is always the unconscious mind, because that's the whole point, it's unconscious. And even when you're psychic, and obviously we're all psychic, you still have got some blind spots going in that unconscious space. And I do feel like you just got to update that. So in all honesty, if I was to say, what's the quick, cheap way of doing that? I think it's hypnotherapy. I think hypnotherapy can get into the unconscious super quickly. And then as long as your intent is there, life will start making all of the other things happen, and it will slowly make everything conscious for you that you need to be conscious of, and you can take it from there. That's probably what I would do. Then we've got 11th house, community. And then we have honor your feelings, first quarter moon in Pisces. Yeah, so you know with this instantly as well, again, Pisces is this unconscious realm. In the birth chart, Pisces rules the 12th house. 12th house is unconscious. So actually it's also past lives, 12th house. So it'd be quite interesting to see what I channel for you guys with the past life, because again, this will all be this unconscious programming that you've got. What I can tell you already is whatever is your past life, in some way this relates into why you chose the parents that you've got now, because it's an added on extension of the story of your past life going on to the next level. So what I can also tell you, because we all have multiple different past lives, the past life that's relevant to you earning significantly more money now is literally the life just before this one. That's really cool. I've never really had anything come out like that before, but anything as specific as it is this past life, because there's so many, but literally it is quite literally the past life that you had just before this one. And I'm hearing again, this is why the transformation can be so quick when you're ready to do it, to do with earning significantly more money, because it's so close to you. Like, it's not super far removed. It's not super far removed, so it's going to be quite easy to access, and because it's easy to access, it's therefore easy to change, is what I'm hearing. And then we have heart, home, compassion. Yeah, you see, this is what I'm saying about, it's definitely something about stories that were told when you were growing up as a kid, and it's what you experienced as a kid to do with money. And it's interesting, right, because even let's say you're from a super wealthy family, there can still be really unhealthy belief systems about money. Because also, let's say, what was a healthy belief system for a previous generation that allowed them to earn a lot of money won't necessarily be the same sort of belief system that will allow the next generation to earn a lot of money, because every generation comes in with kind of like slightly different soul frequencies, let's say. And you can kind of see this in birth charts, because it can be like the outer planets. The outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, they're all going to be in the same sign for the same, and actually for some of us it'll be more than that, but like Jupiter as well and Saturn in their own way. And they'll all be in the same sign for certain sort of generations and groups of souls that come down. And so that kind of tells you the energies that they're working with. So if you are a soul group that's come down, and let's say you've got, I don't know, Pluto, I know, let's go with a different one. Let's say, or even where you've got the North nodes, to be honest, the nodes of the moon. But let's say, let's do Saturn, right? If you're in the generation, because that's every 2.5 years, it changes signs. So if you're in the generation where Saturn was in Scorpio, you will have to, and let's say your parents are 30 years younger than you, and let's say, this is like my parents, I think their Saturn was then in Leo. The way that Leo will make its reality work, because Saturn is 3D reality, is going to be very different to the way Scorpio will make its reality work. So, you know, that's another thing that's kind of, I think, is something important for you guys to be mindful of, is that just because some of these stories were successful for your family in some way, it doesn't necessarily mean that that same story will be successful for you. And also, if you have kids, or if you do have kids, always remember that as well. What allowed you to create success might not be the same pattern that allows your children to create success. And I think that's just something to be mindful of. And I don't really know why I'm saying that either. I don't usually say stuff like that, but must be relevant in some way. Anyway, then the next one we have is, oh, I love this, the Hermika Diamond Alignment Earth Star Chakra. Again, you know, the Earth Star Chakra, it's like the silver star below your feet. This can hold a lot of of ancestral stuff, a huge amount of ancestral stuff. And so this can be things that we've inherited again. So again, I do really feel like there is something quite inherited that's in your DNA, that's in your programming, that currently is limiting the amount of money that you can make. Right, now let me just go into this a little bit more now. Just give me 1 second. So I'm just thinking about how to go about this. Right, okay, I'm really just going to put it all together because it's almost like I feel like we've covered a lot of it as it's just come out when we're chatting there. Right. Sorry, this is weird. I don't know why I'm stalling. I never usually stall. Why am I stalling? Okay, so what I'm also hearing, particularly with these two cards as well, what I'm sensing is, as well as we talked about this unconscious mind, it's really, really important to consider your dreams. And this actually also goes with the 11th house, because the 11th house is hopes and dreams. I think it's really, really important that you guys consider the dreams that you have at night, or also what are the dreams that you're currently going after. I wonder if for some of you, ask yourself why is it you have the dream that you want a certain thing. And I think it's really, really important that you check that you don't have a specific dream as a response or a reaction to something that was inadequate in your past. And because it was inadequate in your past, it's then set up to believe or make you think that you want something a certain way. But what I'm actually hearing is that is actually currently, again, it's a bit more of a heavy frequency to bring in an unlimited amount of money and resources. So kind of like go back, unpick why it is you really want something. And if it's coming from something, some kind of neglect or abandonment, or something where you didn't have enough, or you didn't feel good enough, or you didn't feel worthy enough, or something was rejected from you or not given to you in some way, I think it's really important that you kind of like undo that almost limiting belief around why you couldn't have something that you really wanted. And then once you've undone that belief, or even opened yourself up to be like, oh wait a minute, why did I want that, or whatever, you might find that actually you might still want the same thing, but you'll actually start going about it in a different way, because the energy that's driving that manifestation that you want to do with money in whatever way it is will not be driven from a resource which is from a place of lack or rejection or abandonment. And then also for some of you, and I'm hearing about 20% of you, so not all of you, but 20% of you, if you actually do this, you'll actually realise what you did think was your dream isn't actually your dream after all. And actually, I can give you an example for me. This doesn't really relate into money, but it gives you an idea of kind of what I'm talking about here. And because it's relevant, I'll just obviously say it. But basically, I've always had this thing where I'm like, I want to be free, I want to be free, I want to be free, I don't want to be tied down, I want to travel around, I don't ever want to be stuck in one place, I want to be free, I want to be free, I want to be free. You can hear how that tape went over and over in my head. And I was always like, I just want to travel the world, I just want to travel the world, I don't ever want to be stuck in one place, I just always want to be all over the place. Anyway, and then also I've never been able to do it, right? No matter how hard I've tried to create this, and trust me, fuck me, I've tried hard, and I've taken some serious risk in order to do this, none of which have ever paid off. But anyway, I've kept going after it because I've truly believed this is what I want more than anything. This is like my 11th house, my wish fulfillment is that's what I want. And funny enough, so many times things came up about me going to Bali, going to Bali, going to Bali. And in the end, things would always happen. First I would say no, or life would come in and it would shut it down, so I couldn't do it. Anyway, it was only actually as I got to my progressed new moon, which is a big thing in your progressed chart, happens every 30 years, and it can totally change everything about what you want and what you don't want. I suddenly realised, oh my God, what the hell? I don't want that at all. My unconscious mind never wanted more freedom. It never wanted more instability and moving around. All my unconscious mind ever really wanted was stability and consistency. And suddenly, as I became aware of that, obviously it's a total game changer, and it's rechanged everything about how I go about stuff. And guess what? Funny enough, now I earn more money than what I've ever earned before. So be open to the fact that when you really go into something, in whatever way that might be, you might uncover that you wanted it for your wish fulfillment was actually only a wish off of something that was a wound in the past. It wasn't a genuine wish. if that makes sense. It was coming from a resource of lack rather than a resource of wonderment and limitlessness, if that makes sense. And also my whole thing about wanting more freedom only came from a limiting belief that I had about childhood, and it got set up in that way. So this is what I feel is very, very much relevant to this pile. So take what I've said with that, my example, obviously it won't be the same for you, but it just gives you an example, and just feel into all of this and see what you get out for yourself. Because interestingly as well, this heart, home, compassion, I actually also only really understood how much stability I wanted when I actually had complete compassion for my childhood, my parents, my upbringing, and my ancestral line. Because I have to say, for so many of us now, why it can be so intense is because we're also working through generations of karma within our life experience, and that can cause a lot of restriction to do with stuff to do with families, childhood, stuff like this, and how we perceive it. So yeah, so I do think there's probably going to be a big thing about some kind of heart opening you'll have about your past, about your childhood, about maybe one or both of your primary caregivers, something like that, which will also open you up to really understand, you know, like as well with this alignment thing, what is it that you do really want? What really is your wish fulfillment to do with however it is that you're going after money? And you might find actually it's something very different to what you originally thought, like I did. Or some of you will actually find, oh, now I understand it, it unlocks something and you start to earn lots more money to do with whatever it was you were doing in the first place. But either way, I'm hearing this is a win-win and you can't lose. So now let me just, let me have a little feel into what is the past life for you guys. Let's see. So what is the past life that's most relevant for you guys to do with this? Because it is relevant to your parents. I do know that. Okay, instantly what I'm getting for you guys, and not what I thought I would get, to be honest, is I'm actually hearing that you actually come from a family in a past life that actually had a lot of money, had a lot of wealth. So also some of you guys might be people that have significantly strong planets to do with money and wealth in your 4th house in astrology. You might not, but you might do. Or where your South Node is. There's something about your South Node, 4th house, whatever, that's got something that says in your past there was something significant to do with coming from a wealthy, privileged upbringing and background. I'm actually hearing as well that there was some rebellion that went on for you guys in the past life, where it's kind of like you wanted to go your own way, you wanted to go your own path, but you wanted to go your own way and your own path, but I'm particularly hearing like the father figure was really intense, was really intense about you doing things the way that he did things, or the way that he did things was the right way. And I am hearing like there was some whole kind of thing about, if you don't do it my way, inheritance is going to be cut off from you. So basically, if you don't do what I say, you will be punished, and I will punish you, and you will regret it. I'm hearing this big thing about, if you don't do what I want, you will regret it. And I feel like this is where there's two splits. Half of you, and feel into which half of you this is, half of you were just like, bollocks, I'm doing my own thing anyway, and you went off and did your own thing. But because you did it as a reaction to your father, it's not that you weren't successful, but any success that you had came so hard, and it came with heavy consequences. But you still were successful, but you never ever felt successful because it always came with heavy consequences, because you were always driven through like a rebellion against your dad. And now then the other half of you decided to be subservient to your dad. But because you were subservient to your dad, again, you created success again, but it wasn't success that you ever enjoyed, because it always came with a feeling of, oh, what's that word? Begins with R, wait a minute. Oh, what is that word? Sorry, I just had it and now it's just gone. Give me 1 second. Oh, it came with that. Oh, you know when you're really resistant to something. Oh, it came with like a lot of. No, not defiance, because that first pile, you guys were defiant because you went off and did your own thing. So you guys were really defiant about stuff. But this other pile, you had loads of resentment, that's it. You just ended up having a huge amount of resentment to do with your dad, but to do with money as well. Because you felt like, because you couldn't separate in your mind how you felt about your dad to do with how you felt about money, to do with how you felt about success. And so the whole thing became a huge amount of resentment to do with your dad and to do with money. So even though either which way you went, whichever is your past life, you both were successful with money, but you never enjoyed it. It was never enjoyable. Money always came with very, very heavy feelings, and it did always come with big consequences. So it was like an either or. So again, it was kind of like, I also getting as well that this part in your past life, you were successful with money, but like I say, it wasn't in an enjoyable way, and you did lose out in love every time. Because it was some kind of thing about the self-worth was off. And because there was too much like aminosity to do with money and success, that it kind of like eat up at you a little bit. And it was quite challenging in that type of way. So although that's a little bit heavy, don't even worry about it, because it's not in this lifetime whatsoever. Please remember, we all have multiple different past lives. I'm going to be honest with you, I've done terrible things, including being murdered in past lives and all sorts of things, as lots of us have. So please don't worry about any heaviness in a past life, but just recognize what it can tell you about what's going on right now. So that would lead me to say that definitely to do with whatever you're seeing to do with the home, or how you had your upbringing to do with money. You know, I guess half of you might be very defiant to do with something to do with your family or whatever, or money or something like that, and half of you might be very I keep forgetting that word beginning with R. What is it again? Oh, whatever that word was that I said beginning with R. Sorry, I totally can't think. I don't know why it keeps blocking on me. I wonder if it's because it's me. You know how these things work. But that other R word that I just said, the other part of you I think will potentially be like that. So yeah, I just think, yeah, just have a little feel into it and be really honest with yourself. And honestly, all of these readings are meant to do is just to highlight things so that it can liberate you to help you get where you want to go. And I don't feel like this is going to be difficult, like I said, from the very beginning, because you've got these two death cards here for big massive transformation to happen quickly. And you might actually find for some of you, even just hearing about this now is going to be enough to actually give you that shift and to give you that breakthrough. And also, I do really like this stone. It's like a really nice like white and pink one. I think it might be pink tourmaline with something else in it. I just feel like this is about being really soft and really compassionate, to do with your childhood, to do with money, to do with everything right now, to be honest. It's like that soft heart space, which is actually going to be a thing that can liberate you so much to do with money. So yeah. Yeah, so I do feel like if you do all of this as well, a bit like pile number one, but in a more straightforward way, because pile number one, they would have an opportunity that would come in, but it would come through a side door, so they had to be very, very open and very, very receptive. With you guys, I don't think you have to be that open or receptive. I just think you have to be compassionate about your past, compassionate about your stories, compassionate about your childhood, compassionate about your primary caregivers. And then I feel like an opportunity is a very straightforward, very, very obvious opportunity is going to come in to help you make a whole load more money. And I just feel like it's going to want you. You will want it and it will want you. And it's almost going to be like a knight in shining armor kind of offer, but to do with finances. And actually for some of you as well, because in the past life it was very much like your money and your love life were intertangled, and when the money went well, the love life didn't go well, and if the love life went well, then the money didn't go well, because it was kind of some kind of strange sort of trade-off, like some kind of polarization and duality that you had to do with money and to do with love. I do feel like as well, if you get this compassion to do with your childhood and what's gone on and things like that, and be compassionate to do with yourself, I think for some of you as well, this will mean that a certain love opportunity will come in as well, because for whatever reason I feel like these two things are a little bit interlinked, and I do really get that sense it's because by you really resolving whatever this is from the past in your childhood, it is going to bring so much of you back to you. And when you have more of your own energy, you've got so much more space to be a conscious creator. And that's where many of your like almost like hopes and dreams and wishes and things that you've really wanted and really put energy into in the past can then start to manifest in some way. Because there's space for it now, basically, because literally there's space for it. So I think it is very, very cool with so much possibility, as always. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that reading. Obviously take what resonates, totally disregard anything that does not, and just let it sit with you, basically. I often feel like the readings that I do are something that kind of like can just kind of work on you unconsciously over a certain period of time. So so yeah, anyway, cool. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye. Hi there. So this is for everybody that chose message number 3 for what you most need to know right now to help you significantly increase your income, your money, over the next 12 months. So I'm going to do what I've done with the last 2 piles, and basically towards the end I'll just go in and tell you what is the past life that is most relevant to what's going on with whatever this story is. Because obviously, well, I don't know where you sit with past lives, but from my perspective we have so many different past lives, definitely at this point. So cool, we'll tap into that towards the end, but now I'm just going to pull them out and I'm going to try not to say too much. So let's see. Message number 3. What am I feeling to do with this, with income? Okay, so the first thing that I'm hearing for you guys is the word settling down. And what I'm kind of seeing is like a vision of like someone really, really youthful, like kind of leapfrogging from one place to another place to another place, but instead of it going kind of linear, so they're kind of always moving forward, it's kind of like jumping 2 forward, then jumping 5 diagonally, then jumping 3 across, and it's kind of all over the place, and it's kind of like quite an erratic sort of chaotic pattern. And I'm also hearing how stability is something that's really important for you guys when it comes to earning way more money. I'm hearing like choosing something and sticking with it is important. But I'm also getting as well, like it feels like there's a couple of different energies in this pile as well, which kind of would probably, I suppose, make sense, because it is feeling a bit more of a creative chaos type of energy. So I'm also feeling that also for some of you where it doesn't resonate about this whole stability and consistency, I feel like you are the guys that are actually just about to make a huge change. Maybe you're either thinking about a big career change, or you've been working on a big career change, or there's something about a big change that you're either in the process of kind of like exploring, or you will soon be doing that. So it kind of feels like there's kind of a bit of a mixture of energies in this pile. Let me just move these up a bit so it's a bit easier to see them all. And it kind of feels like, what would I say? It feels like I don't know, just like there's a huge amount going on at the moment. But anyway, let's just check and see what we get. So the first card we get is Virgo. Digest. Okay. Then we have the Path. And then we have Honored Cactus, Resourcefulness. I mean, I do really feel like this part, like resourcefulness makes a lot of sense to me, and it does really make me feel like from whenever you're watching this reading, because obviously it is timeless, I feel like the next 18 months are really significant, because it's kind of like what I'm seeing, particularly with this card as well, is I don't know if you know much about your astrology and the nodes of the moon, so the south node and the north node of the moon, and they generally go in an 18-month cycle, kind of sort of type of pattern before they switch signs. And I do feel like you're on some kind of like big shifting pattern in your life over the next 18 months from whenever you've listened to this video. And one of the really key points about this is it's kind of like with the Path, I feel like you're going to be going through different stages, to be honest, over this next 18 months. And it does feel like this is all significant to do with, interestingly for this part, this is the first thing where this has actually come up, where this isn't just talking about your income and how much you can increase your income over the next 12 years. It's kind of like talking about what is the area of life that you feel like you don't have the success that you want in, and it can be any area of life. And it feels like it's something about you guys working on that, and that's actually where you're going to get huge amounts of massive change over the next 12 months. So for some of you, if you do feel like it is income and money, then that's relevant. But some of you, it might be something quite different as well, from a different area of life. And I do feel like that's something that you should be honouring and thinking about a lot. But I do also feel like there's a lot for you to think on. So whenever you're listening to this video, wherever you're at, I still feel like there's quite a lot that you need to actually consider and think about before you take any directive action, because I really am feeling like there is a lot of, I want to call it chaotic energy, but it's more, let's just say, it reminds me a bit more like of the, what is that pattern that you get in physics? Something like the mandible pattern. I don't know, it's where the fractals repeat each other over and over again. So it kind of like can look very, very chaotic until you look at it in detail, and then you see there's this intricate pattern and it's repeating itself over and over and over again. I kind of feel like you are in that process at the moment. So one thing that is really coming through quite strongly as well with this is, wherever you're at right now, don't rush something. Don't rush a decision. If it's to do with making a really big change in your life in any area, don't rush it. Just take your time. I feel like it's just really, really important that you're very, very kind of considered, and that you have a strategic plan with how you're going to go about this. And I'm also hearing that for quite a lot of you, it's going to change. This plan will change a few times, to be fair, depending on where you're at, because I do also feel like there's potentially a lot of emotion that's involved in this change, or there will be in the current or in the beginning stages. So that's just something that you really need to be mindful of. This is really quite interesting because it's quite different to the other two piles. So then we have Shakti, solar plexus chakra. This card. And then we have last quarter moon in Scorpio, reveal what needs to be seen. Yeah, this whole reveal what needs to be seen, I generally just don't think that you have all the information at this point. Or if it's not information, if it's something more emotionally based, I don't feel like you have all of the emotion. I don't feel like you've experienced and processed and integrated all of the emotions that are to do with this big change that's going to be occurring over the next 18 months. And I do really, really feel it's important. Again, I really am getting this thing about don't rush. Do not rush. To rush this is to miss something really important. And actually to rush this is to potentially put yourself back a bit in the future. So if you rush anything at this moment in time, I feel like you're going to miss some vital information, or, you know, if it's not information based, you're going to miss some vital emotional processing. And without that additional emotion, or processing that emotion, or without that additional information, you won't be able to, it will just be absolutely physically impossible for you to make the next best step. And it's not saying that you're going to have to wait for ages, but it is saying that you're going to have to honor timings, and you're going to feel those timings within you. So you may want to rush something, and I'm really hearing like, don't rush. And actually, I've not done this in ages, but it's making me think of this video I did on my See It Like a Psychic channel years ago, which is something about the power of integration time. I'll leave a link below, and I do really think it's important that you just listen to that, because there's something that's very relevant to do with you guys that's coming up, either to do with your income, because obviously this was supposed to do with income, but also, like I say, for some of you actually this is to do with it's to do with making a big change in your life, or it's a big change that is currently occurring in your life or about to happen in your life. And definitely don't rush this. To rush this is to trip yourself up later. So anyway, let's have another look. So we have light of awareness. Yeah, again, I just keep getting this really strong feeling that there is a lot more for you to still become aware of, emotionally or physically, mentally, whatever it might be, before you receive this huge, massive, positive influx of something in your life. And I'm calling it a positive influx in something in your life, because, like I say again, this is more than just money for some of you here. This message is also wanting to come out to do with any big change that you're currently thinking or about to go through in your life. And then obviously, as I even say that with a big change, we've got here new paradigm. So there's absolutely a big paradigm shift that is currently occurring for you, or you're considering. And then we're not going to read these reversed apparently. So then we have Ten of Pentacles. Oh, amazing. So again, with the Ten of Pentacles, I'm not just seeing this as financial, but obviously it is, but also it's just, you know, whatever chaotic thing is currently occurring for you, whether that is internally with how you're feeling emotionally about something, or if it's actually externally, like a big change, like something to do with your job, your money, relationship, whatever it might be, just know that it's all working towards, I think you're going to be coming towards a very stable place with it over the next 18-month cycle from whenever you listen to this video. And again, when we talk about stability coming, we also then get the Four of Pentacles, which is totally confirming this for me. So really interesting. This is quite a different reading to the others, and even though this is like it's supposed to be very much to do with money and stuff like that, it's actually kind of like coming up very much to do with just, it is a big change. You're in the process, you're about to hit a process of a really big change that's going to be occurring in your life. But you know what, you're kind of at either the very beginning stages, or it hasn't even yet occurred yet. And so this is just more sort of like guidance for you to get very clear on a plan. Get very clear about what you want. And the way that I'm hearing you're going to get clear about what you want is you've got to be very analytical. Don't overthink, but you need to be analytical about what has worked for you in the past, what has not worked for you in the past, you know, what you really want. But I'm also hearing that with what you really want, it's actually just going to take a little bit of time and consideration, because with this, reveal what needs to be seen in the Scorpio energy. Scorpio is a proper deep dive into your emotions. So the thing with properly diving into your emotions is this is not necessarily a one-hit wonder. Like you suddenly get an emotional release or an emotional understanding, you're like, boom, I've got it. No, that's like, it's layers. Scorpio is so layered in how it transforms. It's why in astrology, I think it's like the snake, which transforms into the eagle, which transforms into the phoenix. You know, there's going to be at least 3 layers of emotional depth that you're going to need to go through if you're going to do this, whole change and paradigm shift in like the most smartest, like sort of like consciously evolved way. And if you do it in the most consciously evolved way, you are going to get the most amazing results as well. So absolutely take your time, look at what's working, what isn't working. Absolutely. I'm hearing as well with this card, do consider your past. with the last quarter moon, it's just going into the phase before it's going to become to be a new moon. Just be still, just consider everything. Look at your whole life picture I'm hearing, because this is such a big change that you're going to be going through. Just take the time to consider how you've actually got to where you've got to in your life to do with whatever this is to do with, and why you've got there. And if you want a different outcome, where and how could you have made different choices in the past? Now, that's not to look at yourself in a critical way, because with the Virgo energy, we do not want this becoming self-critical, because that's just going to be a total waste of time, waste of space, and then you'll get lost in the Scorpio energy in a non-productive way. But what you do want to do is just look at it almost in a bit more of a detached kind of way. Again, with this light of awareness card, look at it in a bit more of a detached type of way, your past. And really the only reason why you want to see how would you have done different things slightly differently if you wanted a different outcome is purely so you have a better understanding about what actions you therefore need to take in the future to get the outcome that you do want, whatever it might be. Because absolutely there really is, you know, this is a moment of you kind of like drawing something new in the sand. It's a moment of you creating something potentially very, very different in your life over the next 18 months. For some of you, I think you're all in different spaces with this as well. I think some of you are a lot closer to coming to the culmination of this. Some of you are in the beginning and some of you haven't even started. But whatever, it's still, you know, the process of how to go about this is the same. Be very, very clear. Be very, very analytical. Look at the past, look at different choices that you could have made, only so you can make better choices this time. Totally honour your emotions, allow them to come through in stages, allow them to come through in waves and process them in waves. Don't rush a single thing. Do not rush a single thing, because while there's so much changeable energy around you, either within your emotional body or within your physical life or whatever it might be, the last thing you want to do right now, if you're wanting to create this whole 10 of Pentacles, 4 of Pentacles, so ultimate stability and long-term happiness, the last thing that you want to do right now is rush anything. Because to rush anything at this moment in time is actually just going to add in more chaotic energy to stuff that's already chaotic. And like for some of you, it might be feeling quite a lot of turbulence in your actual physical environment, either with whatever changes it might be, but also with some of you, it just might be more of an internal emotional process to do with something where it feels quite chaotic. But again, with this Shakti energy, I don't really know too much about Shakti energy, but what I'm feeling is it's just basically like a root raw energy that's kind of like pure creative potential kind of thing. So just, and also to be able to use raw energy, and I suppose Shakti energy is probably quite a sexual energy as well. I do really feel like to use raw energy, like you need to be almost fully uninhibited to do with whatever that raw energy is to do with. And one way to be fully uninhibited is to actually be totally at peace and totally comfortable with all of the different emotions and feelings that are coming up to do with whatever this is to do with. And also kind of like to have like a real kind of like a very confident kind of energy to do with whatever this might be as well, so that actually you do feel like you can be uninhibited with how you're going to process. And as well, this being uninhibited, it's not so much, often that can come through with like vulnerability, but I'm not feeling like it's so much vulnerability, particularly because this is a horned cactus. So I don't really know that cactus energy has got like a vulnerable feel with the spikes on it. So it's not necessarily about vulnerability, but this uninhibitedness is more about, I feel like it's more just like about raw power, like you allowing yourself to access your raw power, your total raw emotions. And like also truly being able to look at everything in the past in the way that it actually happened, rather than you having to put some kind of like tilt on it or slant on it so it psychologically makes you feel better, which is more something that you do when you're feeling quite insecure about something. But if you can totally look at something as it actually is, like literally without you putting any kind of filter on to kind of psychologically make you feel better, again you're kind of working with way more of like the raw energy of what really is and what really was. And when you're working with that raw energy, I feel like you're going to go into quite an uninhibited space within yourself, because it's going to give you access to so much more of yourself. And when you have so much more access to so much more of yourself, like the amount of awareness that you will then gain is going to be absolutely friggin' epic. And that really is going to be fueling this kind of like new paradigm shift, this new pathway forward, even more powerfully. But don't rush it. Do not rush it. And I do get quite a strong feeling that for quite a lot of you, sit with your emotions, even when it's getting a bit uncomfortable, even when you're like, oh, friggin' hell, I just need this situation to change, or I just need to feel totally different about whatever this is. Like, sit with that intensity. Don't distract yourself. Don't try and tell yourself a story that will make you feel better about sitting with the intensity. Just kind of like be able to sit with the raw intensity of what you are actually feeling, what is actually going on, because within that space is where you're going to get the most powerful awarenesses and powerful insights. And that's really, really going to fuel you forward, because I ultimately do see that if you heed this advice and if you can do this, and bearing in mind, you don't need to be perfect with it. Sometimes you might be able to sit with the emotions, and sometimes you might just be like, fuck, I absolutely can't. And this is all good. It's just mix and match it as and when you can. Like, work with it as and when you can, because you don't want to fall into a critical perfectionist space. Please do not do that with anything to do with this. The moment you start feeling yourself becoming quite harsh or critical about yourself, that is not working with the raw intensity of what is, because the raw intensity energy of what is going to not have a judgment energy on you. You will not feel a judgment energy on you when you're working with the raw potential of just what has happened, what is happening, how you're feeling, how you're not feeling. If you are starting to feel self-judgment in any area, I would recommend just back off for a bit, or just tell yourself, like, you know, this is not about a judgment, because once you start getting that judgmental energy, it's going to start to go into this critical Virgo energy that can happen on like the lower potential side of the Virgo energy, and you just don't want that to happen. So just be mindful of that, but do allow you to just kind of like sit with all the multiple potentials of what's going on and how you felt or where you want things to go, because that's going to open up something massive for you. And ultimately, I do really, really truly feel like with these two cards here, the 10 of Pentacles and the 4 of Pentacles, ultimately this is going to bring a huge amount of stability. If you don't have stability on a physical level, that will be coming. If you don't currently have stability on your internal emotional level, that is coming. But you just kind of need to sit with this process and just explore it, play with it, you know, play with it a little bit and play with how you feel about it. I think that is also really, really important. Cool, so I think that's kind of what's mainly coming out there. So now what I'm just going to do is, let me just feel into what is the past life that's most relevant to what's going on with you guys here. Just give me a sec. Right, I'm just going to talk to you as I see it, as it plans out, and then obviously that will come out as the story as it goes. So I'll tell you what I'm first of all seeing. So what I'm first of all seeing is, I'm seeing somebody coming up to like a treasure chest, and it's on a beach and it's on a stormy day, and they open the treasure chest and they're really excited, but so disappointingly there is nothing in that treasure chest. And then it's sort of coming out that this person is kind of like constantly trying to look for something that can happen, or something that they will find in their life which is suddenly going to free them, and it's going to liberate them, and it's going to create a completely new life for them. So one thing that has sort of happened in this past life is there's been kind of like a very kind of like charged dance between reality and illusion, reality and illusion, reality and illusion, and there's been like a really sort of it's been quite difficult in that past life to see things objectively, but then also paradoxically, I'm also getting that in that past life, at some point you've then flicked to the other total extreme. So at one point you've been completely, let's say, unrealistic and been going into illusion and fantasy and just been giving so much life energy to it. And then on the other extreme, suddenly when that's not fulfilled itself, like when this person turned up, they think, oh my God, I'm finally finding this treasure chest on a beach in a stormy night, and it's going to be full of treasure and it's going to totally change my life. and everything's going to be amazing once I open this treasure chest and the treasure is there. And then they open the treasure chest and then there's nothing in there, and the emotional loss of that, because they've invested so much into that story in whatever context it is, it then makes them flip the complete opposite way, and then suddenly they go extremely practical, extremely like don't believe in anything, just don't believe that things are going to work out, like this is all rubbish, this isn't going to work. And there's kind of like this extreme kind of like polarity of emotions that you experienced in this past life. Now, one thing I do just want to say is, I'm not saying for all of you, you very specifically went on a beach and you would get a treasure chest and you would look in it and there'd be nothing in it. I'm just trying to tell you what is the raw theme story that's gone off in this past life, because then how it will have expressed itself individually for all of you will be quite different, but the theme, the overall theme, story and archetype of who you were in that story, in that past life, is going to be the same. So just know it's this kind of like, it's a very kind of like jumping from one extreme emotion to another extreme emotion. It's something about a huge amount of wish fulfillment, wanting to be fulfilled because you don't feel satisfied with where you're currently at, and you're massively yearning for something so much more. But I'm also hearing something that was really cool in that past life that you can utilize now, is your ability to manifest in almost like a creative visualization way is super, super powerful. And also your ability to do that by adding emotional intensity to your visions is super, super powerful. And that's totally something for you to access with whatever is currently going on or will be going on. But one of the sort of like things to be mindful of from this past life is just be so sure that you are not investing into an illusion in whatever way that might be. Now, I'm not saying that whatever is the thing that you're trying to do is an illusion, but what I am saying is there might be certain facets of what's going on that have got some type of wishful thinking, non-practical, non-grounded, not realistic approach to what's happening. And really it's about bringing conscious awareness to those areas where there might be some kind of like highly just chasing after an illusion, chasing after a mirage. It's got like quite, it's a fantasy. Something about certain areas is there's a little bit of fantasy going off. But then it's so interesting because at the same time, it's also great that you can use that kind of energy of like investing into a future which isn't quite there yet and really breathing life into it, because when you do that with the correct conscious awareness, it's going to manifest what you want very, very quickly. But if something isn't manifesting the way that you want currently in whatever is that situation, consider you're just not quite seeing something in the clear light of day. And without seeing something in that clear light of day, you really can't, it's very, very difficult for you to make the next move that's going to bring you either the emotional fulfillment that you seek, the emotional stability, or the physical stability that you seek, or whatever it might be. So yeah. And so I'd also just say from that past life, because there's quite this strong thing about the emotions flicking from one extreme to another extreme, it's something about, you know, and this is like with the Scorpio energy, try not to be so intense about whatever is going off. Try and bring down the intensity just a little bit. And one of the ways that I'm hearing that you can do that is by channeling that energy in a different type of way. And actually, I'm going to give you an example. I've got insanely, friggin' annoyingly sometimes, strong Scorpio energy in my birth chart. And freaking out. Sometimes this can be amazing, and it can also be an absolute like, oh, I don't know, so destructive. So it's really important to find the creative channels when you've got very, very intense energy in yourself, either to do with the situation or it's just part of your personality makeup. Now, I can say for me, what I recognize really helps me channel my Scorpio energy is I have to do exercise. I have to do the gym. I have to do hot yoga. I have to eat well. And what I mean by that is clean. When I'm doing that, for whatever reason, it really, really gives an avenue for my intense Scorpio energy to find a route that satisfies it without it bringing in that huge emotional intensity either into my job, my money, my decisions, my choices, my relationships, whatever they might be. So I do really feel like all of you that have picked this pile, there's going to be some very strong Scorpio energy in your birth chart somewhere. And if it's not in your birth chart, it's probably going to be in your progress chart or your solar return chart, because there's something about the time of when you listen to this reading, this strong Scorpio energy is something that you've got to learn how to channel, and you need to learn how to channel it effectively for you. And like I say, everybody will have different modalities. Mine is exercise, hot yoga, specifically hot yoga as well. There's something about that intense heat that helps me. Saunas are really good for me, steam rooms are really good for me, and just eating really healthily, it totally allows me to channel this intense emotional energy that I have, and this intense solar plexus, because again, this is the Shakti energy with the solar plexus energy here, this intense solar plexus energy that you've got. It's very Martian, basically. So you've got to find your own unique way of being able to channel that energy, because I just know it needs a channeling. Because if you're not careful, some of you, I think, will bring that channeling into very negative thinking, or being very, very critical or harsh on yourself. Again, I suppose with the cactus, it does look a little bit harsh, so you can bring it into this very, very harsh energy. Or I do feel like some of you, it will just kind of like go into total chaos in whatever way that might be. And even if you've got a very stable external life, like things in your life look very stable, you might have incredibly intense and emotional internal life, which is very internalized and very, very difficult and challenging on certain levels. And that's sometimes when we can either go to depression or anxiety. Like I'm somebody where mine will go into anxiety 100%, but I know some people where their intensity goes into depression. So, you know, I think it's really important to just work with this energy. Just know it's something that you have from this past life, but there are incredible, incredible gifts with having this type of energy too. And in fact, you might want to watch my video on my See It Like a Psychic channel of the highest potential of the Scorpio archetype, because I think that will show you some really cool ways that you can work with it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm getting on the whole to do with all of that. Hope you found that useful. And like I say, this was slightly different to the other powers, because this feels the first one that isn't necessarily to do with money and income. It's to do with like a big change that's occurring in your life. Some kind of like, yeah, it's just a big change that's occurring over the next 18 months. But essentially it's going to it's going to be bringing you a huge windfall of an amazing amount of stability, even if it's in your relationship status life, or if it's in your own bank account. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Love reading for you as always. See you soon. Bye. So hi guys, this is for everybody that has chosen message number 4. For what you most need to know right now, so that you can make the most amount of income or money ever in the next 12 months. So message number 3 was really random and not totally about money, but let's just see what happens with yours. And what I've actually done with all of them is at the end I've just very quickly tapped into the past life, which is most relevant to what's going on to do with whatever comes up in the cards. Because from my perspective, we all have multiple different past lives, so sometimes it can just be useful to know what other influences are going on, like beyond just the psychological, let's say almost like the soul level, as it were. So yeah, I'll also do that quickly at the end, but now let's just see what I feel as we bring out the cards. So the first thing I'm really being drawn to is I'm really being drawn to, ooh, 2, okay, fine. I'm really being drawn to like a vision of just like the summer. And I think it's the summer because I'm just seeing like the most amazing bright blue sky. But then really interestingly, I'm seeing autumn leaves over that blue sky, and then I'm seeing snowflakes over that blue sky, and then I'm seeing like bluebirds over that blue sky. So it kind of feels something, there's a huge work in progress, and there's something that's like taken time, had seasons, needed time to develop, time to nurture. It feels like this feels like one of the lightest energies of all of the group readings that I've done today by far. It's somehow got sort of, I just feel like there's so much potential that's going on right now, and I actually do feel like you can really feel that potential, particularly obviously to do with, we're doing it with income. So, you know, if you don't feel that, then I don't think that this can be the pile for you, because it just really feels like you're almost like, I'm getting now a vision, I suppose it's a bit like the Fool in tarot. It's kind of like you're just about to like jump off a cliff, But this is not because you're being pushed. It's not because, you know, you're in danger and you have to jump because something bad is coming after you. It's just because you just want to jump off this cliff edge. Like, you just want to go with something, and you want to put all of your energy into it, and you want to invest all of yourself in it. And I feel like you're just on that stage of like titter-tottering towards the edge, and you're kind of like counting yourself in, and maybe you're going to jump on 3 or something like that. But that's kind of like where I feel like you're at to do something. So I don't know if this means that, since we did this originally with money, if you have a new business idea, creative project idea, a new opportunity coming up at work, like there's a new path that you want to take to do with how you earn income, whatever that might be. But I have to tell you this one thing, overridingly, although there might be a little bit of residual like fear or anxiety about something new, about the unknown, overall you are excited about whatever this is. You don't feel heavy about this. So if you do feel heavy about it, I generally don't think this is the right pile, and try another one. But anyway, the first thing we have here is adaptability. Number 23. Then we also have, Vesta. So the planet, the asteroid Vesta. Again, this reminds me of like this passion energy, because the Vesta goddesses apparently always kept a flame lit wherever they were, in whatever home they were at, or whatever city it was at, because like to keep the passions burning. And I do really feel like, again, because this is right at the top of your reading, there's something very, very exciting that you're considering, or a new move or a new change that you're going to make. I feel as well like this could be to do with like a change in status too. Interesting, I'm getting this. So although we've done this about money, and you can say status is money, it's also reminded me of something like it could just be you're going to be changing how the outer world ultimately sees you. So let's say, for example, if you've always needed support from others and you've always needed to be in a relationship, maybe you're about to do a new venture where you start to do everything by yourself, and like you find this, you love it and you're really excited to do it that way. Or vice versa, maybe you always do everything by yourself and now you're about to step into a space where you're actually going to be in a partnership and a commitment. So the outer world is going to suddenly see you not as this independent person, but suddenly as this person that's now in a relationship. It could be anything like that. So with this one, again, it doesn't quite always feel like it's money, but it does feel like it's about a change in status. And that's specifically being defined as how the outer world sees you, how people around you see you. It's going to go through a big change. It's like a very new beginning that's coming. It's like a new part of you that's maybe been repressed or suppressed for a really long period of time, now is being liberated and now wants to come out. And as this new part of you comes out, you know, you are actually going to be presenting yourself to the world, to the outer world, in a very different way. And like I say, so it can be any kind of change in status. Maybe you've gone from not having kids to having kids, not in a relationship to having a relationship, always having a relationship to now not having a relationship, working for somebody but now also being your own boss, or being your own boss and now working for somebody. It's got that sort of feel to it. So obviously I've gone through a lot of different scenarios because you're all going to be quite different. Cosmic midwifery. Oh, I love this. Again, so this does make me feel like you're birthing a whole new you, is what feels like it's happening. And again, it's just going to be changing your status, how you put yourself out in the outer world. And I do feel like it's big, to be honest. I feel like this is a really, really big change in status. It's the sort of thing where, you know, let's just use another example. Let's say you've always been your own boss for like 20 years and now literally you've decided you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want that responsibility. You want to work for somebody else. It's a really, really big shift, I feel. And then we got here, oh, I love this, 2 first quarter moons, by the way. So again, it's this very, very beginning new energy that's coming in. And we have first quarter moon in Sagittarius and first quarter moon in Capricorn. So believe in your good luck and unleash your kindest self. Yeah, this is it. I feel like you got to just trust yourself with this new path that you're going, this new journey that you're on, this complete new way of being that you're going to be. I think you've got to really, really just trust the process. But at the same time, I do think it's important with this Capricorn energy that you need to be practical about it too. So again, the thing that I'm getting here, and I got it with another pile, is don't rush. Whatever is going on with this big change, don't rush it. So just take your time. You don't need to go 1,000,000 miles an hour. I feel like it's important that it's like, you know, with giving birth, you know, sometimes if the process is super rushed or something and it doesn't give the woman's body time to open up properly, this is where there can be tears and things like that that go on. And I do feel like this is a sort of message where, you know, take your time with this big change that you're undergoing, whatever it might be. Like maybe it's like changing relationship status from being always single to having a partner, or like I say, you know, going from being married to divorced. Whatever it is, don't rush it. Because although obviously this again was supposed to be a reading about how you can earn the most amount of money ever in the next 12 months, I feel like whatever is this big change in status that you're doing, even if seemingly it's got nothing to do with income, like nothing to do with a job, a business, a creative project, but maybe it's got something to do with, let's say, use an example of, because it's just the change in status I'm trying to highlight here. So as one example, maybe you've decided that you are actually going to get a divorce, and actually once you've gone through the divorce and you've got everything sorted, something is going to happen which releases so much energy and which brings in some amazing amount of new opportunity with money, or a money windfall in some type of way, like a new job opportunity, or shares come in, or premium bonds come up, or, you know, a new creative project that you do takes on a whole new leap and bound, like your own business, whatever it is. So it feels like whatever is going to be this change in status, and again, maybe you're somebody where like you're usually always single, you never do a relationship, but actually you're working towards actually going into a committed long-term relationship once that relationship is stable, because it does feel like whatever is the big change that's happening, it needs to become stable and grounded. So whatever that big situation has happened and it's become stable, I do think it's going to bring a huge amount of more money into your life some way or other. And I'm hearing that the reason why that is happening is because basically you have become a completely new person with this change in status. And I feel like for you to go through this process of changing your status in whatever way that is, either relationship, job, whatever it might be, it's going to have required a lot of internal self-growth for you to get to this place and to be able to have made that kind of like leap of faith almost, but also by knowing that you do deserve the best. But I do feel like it's not going to have, or won't have been, or isn't a straightforward path, but because it requires so much more, I don't know, almost like written determination to push through your own limiting beliefs or difficulties or fears or anxieties or whatever. Once you've finally made that commitment and you're solidly in that commitment, it's just raised your vibration because it's actually elevated you, and that's what causes a huge amount more money to come to you over the next 12 months. Because there's also something about staying in whatever was this status that you've done for years and years. I feel like you've done it for years and years, whatever it is. So whatever is that status that you've done for years and years, maybe you've always worked for somebody and now it truly is about working for yourself. That's another example. So whatever is this change in status, it feels like it's, if you don't change it, I actually do think it's going to restrict the amount of money that also comes to you to some extent, because there's something really important about this change in perspective that you will gain by changing your status. And it's actually the change in perspective that is the thing that ultimately allows you to actually start making choices or seeing opportunities or taking actions that ultimately lead to way more income coming to you, money coming to you over the next 12 months. But anyway, let's just turn over. Okay, and then we have this card here, Memory. I love these cards, they're so cool. And then we have Magician's Sword, Confidence in your magic. Yeah, I do really feel like confidence is a really big thing here as well, definitely. Because you've got to almost have, like I saw in the beginning, this leap of faith, this fool's leap of faith. something about you've got to behave in a very different way to how you would usually behave, to do with whatever is this status change. And again, that change in behavior is something which I can just see it like massively opening up your energy field, and it's actually going to like harmonize your energy field as well. So wherever there might be bits in your energy field that are a bit discordant in some way, or a bit heavy, or a bit like, I don't know, stagnant, let's say, I feel like it like brushes all those cobwebs out of your energy field, and that also is something which ultimately brings so much more to you, because you can receive so much more now. That's kind of like been cleared out. Anyway, and then we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. So, what am I thinking with this? Again, Knight of Pentacles, so nothing is rushed. And again, this kind of, for me, goes back to what we're saying about the cosmic midwifery. Like, don't try and rush any change either, any change in status. Don't rush anything, because essentially it can end up causing a few tears, because you need to open up slowly and softly to whatever is this completely new pathway for you. And oh, sorry, that was with that card. Oops, I meant with that one, with the Knight of Pentacles. But actually, to be honest, the Four of Cups as well. Actually, interestingly, in this Four of Cups picture, I always quite like this one of the Four of Cups, because again, it's like, I don't feel like she's missing the last cup, the fourth cup. So I know that can often be the depiction of the Four of Cups. In this deck, I just feel like she is getting herself ready to receive this extra cup. You know what I mean? Like, because all of the cups that are in front of her, they're all nice, they're balanced, they're harmonized. Like, she seems very relaxed, very chilled. And I just feel like that cup is in the perfect place just to kind of like download some awareness into her consciousness. And when she gets that new awareness to do with whatever it is, that's when she sees a new opportunity in her life. So I always feel like this Four of Cups is quite a different type of Four of Cups to other ones that I've seen in the deck. And again, that just makes me feel this whole thing about, you know, take your time, totally take your time. Nothing needs to be rushed. Nothing needs to be rushed, because if you're truly going to open up to a completely new you know, I do kind of feel like there's something about this for whoever you are, whatever you are, it involves some level of partnership. And so what I mean by that is, it's either working with yourself in a new way, or it's working with somebody outside of you in a new way. Because, I don't know, because it does feel like there's this need for there to be trust. Because it's kind of like, as well, the Vesta Virgins, and I can't quite remember exactly what they did, but I'll just go into the feeling of what I can feel from it and channel it in that way. So the Vesta Virgins, the vibe that I'm really getting is like, they were very much community orientated. And yes, they absolutely were an individual, and like, I feel like they had a lot more flexibility and they had a lot more of their own rights than maybe what other women did. But at the same time, they were very much community orientated and based. So I feel like there's this real balance between having like a really healthy I am, but also a really healthy we are, if that makes sense. So whatever this status is to do with, it feels like it's not only something that should empower you, but it empowers others. And it does really make me feel like it's not so much a solo event. It feels like it's more of a collaboration in some way, whatever is this change in status. And that might seem weird, because if you're somebody where you're thinking, oh, well, I'm actually just going to go from being in a relationship status to not being in a relationship status. Yeah, I know, but maybe this means that then you're connecting with your family in a different way to what you usually would, or you're connecting to your friends in a different way to the way that you usually would, or maybe you start being interested in another area of life that has its own community, whatever that might be. I know, like, one of my mates is starting to play loads of tennis, so they're getting into a tennis community. I don't know, it kind of feels, really, this feels a very collaborative energy in whatever way it is. But with this memory card, I just feel like I just want to pull one more for this, because this is not immediately screaming out to me what this is. So just give me one sec. I'm just going to pull one more. And I will use this deck because I really like it. So one sec, let's see. So what's this memory card? the shadow. Ooh, with all the moons. I like this card as well. So what am I feeling with this? Just give me a sec. So the shadow and memory. Okay, so this is the thing where I think you can't rush something. You know, like what we were saying about the cosmic midwifery, like the woman's body has to have time to open up correctly so that things don't tear. And I feel like the reason why you can't rush this status change is because it's such a huge change in how you're going to be showing up in the world. It is so different to what you've experienced before, but the reason why you haven't experienced this particular type of status change before is because actually there has been lots of, I don't want to call it shadow, like shadow work or whatever, but you know, there's been lots of psychological trauma that has happened around whatever this is. So let's say, so if it's you suddenly working for yourself, I feel like you might have had quite a lot of psychological trauma in the past about having your power taken away from you in whatever way that might be, like as a kid or whatever it might be. So you've lost a lot of confidence in your ability to be a leader. That's one example. Or another example is, let's say you always have to be in a relationship. You always have to be in a relationship. And the reason is because you just don't feel good enough if you're not in a relationship. And that's again because of psychological traumas that you've received in the past, maybe growing up or whatever. And so for you to then become single and do that in a healthy, happy way, it means that you have to almost release those psychological traumas that you have from the past. So you have to tell yourself a new story. And I see the memory card very much as learning to let go of the stories in the past that don't serve you and then start the new stories that do. And again, let's say you're somebody that never does a relationship. And again, the reason why you never do a relationship and you never really have done it is because you've got psychological traumas from the past, maybe growing up, childhood, whatever it might be, school, etc., which have made you feel like it's not safe in some way to be in a relationship, or it's better to be alone, or whatever it might be. So this is why I feel like you can't rush this change in status, because otherwise, you're going to go into some of these psychological traumas way too fast, and it's going to cause there to be some kind of like backward steps as a result. Because let's say metaphorically something tears because you're going too fast, and therefore the tear slows you down because then the tear has to be repaired. And that's like a metaphorical way of describing it, but you kind of like get the picture. So I do just think it's really important that you take time with this memory card to tell yourself a different story to do with who you are and what you are, so that you psychologically do feel like you can maintain this change in status long term, and that it be a happy, healthy change. Ooh, that feels quite full on, but that does actually totally feel like that's what it is. So now, just give me a second. I know that maybe sounds a bit weird because we're going about how much money you could earn, but again, just to reiterate this, the reason why over the next 12 months then you will get a huge amount of increase in your income in some way is because this change in status, even if it's not related to money, basically increases your value of self-worth in some way. How you see yourself as more valuable, you feel yourself as more valuable, your self-worth increases. Something happens around that type of frequency. So very kind of Venusian. So it's very much like, maybe some of you have got a lot going off in your birth charts or solar return charts or progress charts right now to do with Venus and how it's being aspected by different planets, because it kind of feels like your Venus energy is going through a huge transformation, and as it transforms and you see yourself as more valuable, feel yourself as more valuable, see yourself as having way more self-worth, you make certain changes or choices or actions which change your status, like how you show up in the world, and that change in status ultimately massively increases your value and self-worth, and therefore you receive more value and self-worth, and that will also come to you in money. So I just wanted to clarify that so it's very, very clear. Anyway, now let's see. So what is the past life? I do really like this, by the way. What is the past life that's most relevant to what's going on for pile number 4? So just give me 1 second. Right, I'm just going to go again. I'm seeing first of all a vision. I don't know what's happening, but I'll just chat it out loud. And as I chat it out loud, I'll be showing more and we'll take it from there. So the first thing that I'm seeing is I'm seeing a little kid running into a meadow with like loads of daisy chains. And they're kind of making daisy chains and they're picking loads of daisies and all of this kind of thing. Okay, so this is a little bit full on, but I'm just going to have to be real with you what I'm seeing. Let me just try and say this in a nice way, just 1 second. Okay, so basically, so this kid's really happy, playing making daisy chains, feels amazing, feels super liberated, super happy, and then suddenly something happens which is very, very traumatic, and it involves like an animal and getting bitten, basically, but like quite full-on intense. And the child's fine. It's not like the child doesn't live, because the child's totally fine, and it's not even like they're disfigured in any way, because they're not disfigured in any way, but just the process. But I think because the kid was so happy, and then it was so unexpected that then this thing came and bit her really badly, and it just was really traumatic. And for whatever reason, that child then grew up to become somebody who basically felt like every time something was going really, really well, something bad was going to happen. And so she needed to be protective and needed to be careful. So every time she felt like something amazing was going to happen, she actually went into quite a defensive mode, because she'd got this like she got this memory of the past. She got a memory about when she was having a great time when she was growing up, and the sun was beautiful and the blue skies were there, and she was doing the daisy chains, everything was amazing, and then suddenly this dog comes and bites her, and it's really painful, and you know, she suffers from it for a couple of weeks, and it looks really bad, and eventually it does heal, and eventually you can't even tell that she's been bitten by a dog. But she kind of like lost her trust in life. Like when things are going great, just something really bad will happen. And then that's a story that kind of like played out in that past life for this individual. And basically it constantly meant that she got so close to having things that she loved, but then something would happen. Either she would self-sabotage, or life would come in and take something away from her, so that joy was removed, and in came suffering. And the only reason why that happened is because she'd got this memory, this really strong, powerful memory of what had happened to her all that time ago when she was picking daisies, and then she got bitten really badly by a dog. And I think as well, the thing with the dog was a pet that she really, really loved as well. So it also felt a bit like a betray of love and a betray of trust. So then also in this past life, it played out in relationships for this person too. So they never really felt fully satisfied with their relationships, or things never totally worked out. And that's something that kind of like played out in all areas of their life. Now, just so you know, that won't be the very specific life that all of you have had, where you were a little girl, you're making daisy chains, and then one of your favourite dogs bit you and all the rest of it. What I'm trying to tell you is that is the baseline story that applies in the past life of all of you, that is relevant to what's going on here now. So it's very much like I say, the overall theme of however it played out, whatever the actual background theme was, whatever part of the world you're in, no matter what gender, whatever. The point is, you had a past life where something was going amazingly and you felt so invigorated and so happy with life, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere something very traumatic happened to you, or it's something that you felt was very traumatic, and it happened early on in your past life, and you held that memory unconsciously very, very close to your heart, and it set you up for experiencing that type of energy over and over again, which then built your belief that when you're in a great place, when everything is going really well, something bad is going to happen and it's all going to get taken away from me. So either I'm going to sabotage myself early so that won't happen, or life's going to actually do it to me, and either way I lose. So when I start to feel really good, I panic and I shut down, and I do maybe something self-sabotaging in some way. That is the overriding past life energy that I'm getting to do with what's going on here. So So I do feel this is really interesting, because if we go back to the very, very beginning setup of this story, this is, you know, when I said I saw blue clouds or skies, and they're kind of like the fool, somebody just about to step off the edge of something, but they're really, really excited. I do really feel like it's about whatever you do which changes your status in life, you do have to trust the process. When it's feeling really good, go with it, relax with it. Know that whatever happens, you'll make it work really well for you, and just trust the entire process of whatever this is. But also be kind to yourself, and allow yourself to have little like hiccups here and there, because it's a really, really big deal when you suddenly completely change your status in some way, or how you show up in the world. And I do feel like this is a huge, huge, huge one. But I do feel as well, like with the Vesta card right at the very top, I feel like you are very, very protected and supported with this. The only thing that will trip you up with this is your own limiting beliefs to do with past psychological trauma, which is now an old story and no longer relevant to who you are now and to your future. Your past only becomes relevant to your present and future if you allow it to take over. And I'm really hearing that, you know, take some time to really, really get strong with your own psychology about you are not your past. You can create your future very, very differently, and you can trust the entire process. And like I say, once you do this and your change in status gets grounded into reality and allows itself to kind of like, because that's the other thing with the Vesta Virgins, they always kept the fire burning. So when you make this change in status, whatever it is, and you fully commit to it, and you keep that commitment going, that's when, even if it seems non-relevant to money and finances, ultimately in 12 months you'll look back and be like, oh my god, I've earned the most amount of money ever, how did that happen? And then I'll be like, remember that reading? This is how it happened. So I think it's super cool. I love it. I'm really excited for you guys. And yeah, enjoy the process. And remember, like, again, like, you're not your past. You are not your past. You're very different to your past. And it's safe for you to become somebody and evolve into somebody completely different now. It's totally safe. So yeah, because believe in your good luck. I friggin' love that. So actually, another thing that might be useful is you might want to go to my See It Like a Psychic channel. I've not done anything on there for ages. I will try to soon. But anyway, you might want to go to look at the highest potential archetype of Sagittarius, because it very much describes how to follow good luck, but also by being very, very understanding about where your psychology is at to do with whatever that is. So yeah, I hope that was useful for you. I loved reading for you as always, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.